Hello and welcome to the news update on Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Barbaric. President Tinubu condemns murder of woman and 6 children in Kano, orders probe. Nigerian delegation lands in Switzerland for 56th World Economic Forum. Father of suspect in Kano killings urges court to speed up execution process. Benue government dismisses reports of nurses' strike amid medical unrest. Opposition aide slams government response to U.S. military action in Sokoto. Governor mocks impeachment plot as Rivers crisis deepens. Renowned cleric Sheikh Bashir Solihu dies after decades of leadership in Kwara. And now the news in full. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has strongly condemned the gruesome murder of a 35-year-old woman Fatima Abubakar and her 6 children in the Chiranchi community of Kano State, describing the attack as barbaric and unacceptable violation of human dignity. Tinubu issued the statement on Monday, 19 January, expressing deep sorrow and offering condolences to the family of the people of Kano, while also mourning the passing of prominent business leader Alhaji Bature Abdulaziz. In a statement from the presidency, Tinubu commended the swift arrest of the principal suspects by security agencies and directed that the suspects be thoroughly investigated and diligently prosecuted to the full extent of the law. He emphasized that such violence against innocent civilians cannot be tolerated in a society that values human life and the rule of law. The tragic incident, which has drawn national outrage, also saw condemnation from Kano State authorities and local lawmakers who called for exhaustive investigations to ensure justice. Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in Davos, Switzerland to lead Nigeria's delegation at the 56th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum (WEF), scheduled to run from January 19 to 23, 2026. His arrival marks a critical moment in Nigeria's global economic diplomacy as the administration seeks to attract investment and deepen international partnerships. Shettima flew to Switzerland from Conakry, Guinea, where he represented President Tinubu at the presidential inauguration of President Mamadi Doumbouya on Saturday 17th. On arrival in Davos, he was received by Foreign Affairs Minister Yusuf Tugar, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, and officials of the Nigerian mission in Switzerland. The 2026 forum will see the official debut of Nigeria House Davos, a sovereign pavilion established for the first time by the federal government on the Davos promenade. Built through a public-private partnership, the pavilion will serve as a central hub for high-level ministerial engagements, investment discussions, and cultural diplomacy throughout the week. According to statements from the Office of the Vice President, Shettima is expected to present Nigeria's 2026 economic outlook to global political and business leaders and participate in plenary sessions that focus on innovation, technology, and sustainable development. The father of a man accused in Dorayi killings has publicly urged the courts to fast-track his son's execution following conviction in the high-profile murder case that shocked Kano State. In an emotional statement, the man, identified as Ibrahim Abdullahi, said he wants the sentence carried out without further delay, asserting that justice should be served for the victims and their families. The accused was among several individuals convicted and sentenced to death by the Kano State High Court for their involvement in the Dorayi incident, which involved multiple fatalities in the Dorayi area of Kano State. Legal experts say that although relatives of convicts can express their views, the judicial process must follow due process and constitutional safeguards, including mandatory appeal opportunities and review by higher courts. The death sentence in Nigeria requires strict adherence to legal protocols, and any execution can only proceed after all legal avenues, including appeals and petitions for clemency, are exhausted. The Kano State government has not yet issued an official response to the father's statement. The Benue State government has clarified its position regarding industrial action by health workers, saying it is only aware of a declared strike by medical doctors and not by nurses. The statement was issued after reports circulated that nurses in the state had downed tools alongside physicians, raising concerns about potential disruptions to patient care. In an official briefing, government officials explained that while doctors in several health facilities have withdrawn services pending negotiations over salaries and working conditions, there is no formal strike notice from the nurses' cadre. The government urged members of the public to verify information through official channels and reiterated that it continues to engage in dialogue with healthcare worker representatives to address concerns. Benue has faced periodic labor actions by health professionals in recent years, with demands typically focusing on payment of withheld salaries, allowances, hazard pay, and improved facility conditions. State leaders emphasized that the welfare of patients remain a priority and urged healthcare workers to continue negotiations through recognized unions and forums.
We will now go on a short break, and when we come back, the news will continue. Stay tuned.
The Partners Global, we don't just cover events, we create cinematic experiences. From red carpets to birthdays, gala dinners, and your fairy tale weddings, we bring your moments to life with high-tech precision. Our gadgets are smarter, our lenses sharper, and our team simply world-class. Trust the Partners Global to tell your story in the boldest, brightest way possible.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue.
A media aide to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has criticized President Bola Tinubu's administration in response to a New York Times report about U.S. military airstrikes in Sokoto State, claiming the story underscores deep dysfunction in the federal government's security and intelligence apparatus. Paul Ibe, writing on the social media platform X, cited the report which suggested that U.S. forces used unconventional intelligence sources in planning the strikes to argue that the Tinubu-led All Progressives Congress government is screwed up. Ibe's comments focused on a claim in the New York Times narrative that intelligence from an unusual civilian source may have been used as part of the justification for the airstrikes, although Nigerian authorities have firmly rejected that account. The federal government, through Foreign Affairs Minister Yusuf Tuga, has asserted that intelligence shared with the United States came from Nigeria's official security agencies, with direct coordination between Nigerian and U.S. forces behind the operation. Critics of Ibe's line, including former Minister of Aviation Femi Fani-Kayode, have dismissed the New York Times portrayal as misleading and inaccurate, emphasizing that sovereign military cooperation requires formal intelligence sharing between governments and that Nigeria played an active role in the planning and execution of the strikes. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has responded to impeachment proceedings initiated by Rivers State House of Assembly with a defiant message, describing the impeachment notice served on him and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, as a love letter rather than a threat to his political authority. Fubara made the remarks on Saturday while attending the finals of the 2026 Port Harcourt International Polo Tournament, underscoring his intention to remain governor and continue his administration's agenda. Fubara used a joking tone in addressing the ongoing political crisis, telling attendees that the timing of the impeachment notice coinciding with the prestigious social event was unexpected but not destabilizing. He stressed that what is important is that I am still the governor of Rivers State and reiterated his commitment to protecting lives and property and delivering on pledges made to residents. The impeachment push stems from accusation of alleged gross misconduct and constitutional breaches leveled by lawmakers aligned with factions critical of his leadership. However, Fubara's administration has pushed back, securing an interim court order that restrains the chief judge from acting on the Assembly's impeachment request for a set period while legal challenges proceed. Despite the political turbulence, Fubara appealed for calm and emphasized that his government will continue its functions. The Muslim community in Ilorin, Kwara State and Nigeria at large is mourning the death of Sheikh Bashir Solihu, the respected chief imam of Ilorin who passed away at the age of 75. The announcement was confirmed by local religious leaders on Monday, marking the end of a life dedicated to Islamic scholarship, community service and interfaith engagement. Sheikh Solihu emerged as a leading religious figure in Ilorin, a city known for its rich Islamic heritage, where he served not only as a spiritual guide but also as a voice for peace, social cohesion, and moral guidance. Officials in Kwara State and the Ilorin Emirate Council described his death as a significant loss to the state's religious and social fabric. Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak of Kwara State extended condolences to Sheikh Solihu's family, the Ilorin Muslim community, and religious leaders across Nigeria. In a statement, the governor praised the late Imam for his lifelong commitment to faith, unity, and service, and prayed for strength and comfort for those grieving. The Ilorin Emirate and the Kwara State Muslim community are expected to coordinate funeral rites in accordance with Islamic tradition. And that brings us to the end of the news update on Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Thanks for joining us.